Hello, all you awesome marketing nerds out there. So great to have you again for episode 4 of Be Social Simple. And I'd like to welcome my dear sis, Taryn. Welcome again to the show. We've got another great subject today.
Yes, we do. It's a hot button subject, isn't it?
Yeah, a question that probably has been asked of me. I'll just exaggerate. I'll just say it's like millions of times I have been asked this question. What social media platform should I be on? And at any given time, it's been general for a huge audience. And then when I get one-on-one with someone, well, it's a whole different story. So I look forward to this conversation and just not only maybe providing some reminders, but also some great tips to help you come to that decision on which social media platforms you should be on. So yeah, great subject, sis. So what do you have to start us off? What are some thoughts or stats to kind of get the conversation going?
I like my statistics because that's what drives everything. The numbers don't lie. So if you're even on the fence about whether or not you should be using social media, let's just run down some of this. 49% of the world has a social media account that they access 52 times a day. So if you're not using at least some sort of social media to help get your business name and business services out there, you are losing out on 49% of the population. That's the one that I liked that one. The likelihood of a customer recommending a company on social media after a positive experience is 71%. So you have an amazing service. Your customers love you, but you have no way for them to tell other people how great you are. So again, a really great statistic that you have that's there. And then this one, if you're not using social media, guess what your competition is? Because in 2019, 91% of US businesses were using one form or another of social media somehow for their business.
Yeah.
So it's out there. You got to be doing it. To what extent? Well, that's what we're going to ask you about today, Jonathan. What extent does a company need to be utilizing social media?
Yeah, no, it's such a loaded question. And we know this is a YouTube video. And you and I were chatting just before the show. Typically, this is at least an hour-long conference session that if I'm speaking at. And it could be hours if we're doing workshop, because then we really get into the research part of it. So let's try and sum it up. So every business is different. Every location is different. Even if you are in the same business genre of someone, it's not going to be cookie cutter what one does to what you should be doing. So as long as you have that mindset, hey, I need to figure out what is going to work for my customers. What do my customers use? And really, that's probably one of the biggest questions that you need to sit down and you need to find the answer to. Where are my customers? And it may take some experimenting, especially with a lot of privacy data, discussion, changes, and more on the horizon. You need to know what your customers are using. But it doesn't have to be that difficult. One of the simplest ways, still to this day, is just a simple survey. So using a survey, now in order to use a survey, you need to have been building up your email list, and another episode to talk about that particular subject. So if you have a good email list, you can start with that. Once you get some data from your customers, then you can start the experimenting process and seeing which channels are going to work for your business. What we don't want you to do is just say, well, I'll just make it easy on myself and I'll just be on all of them and I'll just post the same content across every single channel, and I hope something will stick. Yeah, we don't recommend that. Not at all. Take some time, make some decisions, and look for ways to audit those decisions. So, and I'll give you an example. When I first started Facebook marketing classes back in 2008, I believe is when I first started doing Facebook marketing classes. It is, I would never teach a class what I taught back in 2008. So today, if you asked me to do a Facebook marketing class for you, there would be nothing from 2008. And that continues to change. Algorithms keep changing. And so you need to be up to date with that. So two items. One, find out where your customers are, do some testing, and be ready to make those changes. And if you're a company that it takes a miracle for a decision to be made, then it's going to be a struggle, because as we've seen from 2020, social issues changed like that overnight. And you had to be ready to pivot what your social media message was like that. No time for a focus group, no time for, a meeting and then a follow-up meeting and a meeting to follow up that meeting. Now you had to be ready. So, and this applies whether you're a small, medium, or large business. So have those components in place so that knowing that you need to get your message out there, that you're ready to make those changes, those pivots when necessary. Does that make sense? Did I miss anything?
That makes perfect sense. No, I like the simplification. A lot of people get so wrapped up in it's so overwhelming. There's so many media outlets now, like from 10 years ago to today, like it's insane. But it boils down to knowing your customer base. You can have a million influencers tell you how to stage your Instagram page to make it look a certain way, or you need to do this for your YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you are presenting for your customers. If they aren't interested in it, doesn't matter. You have to know your customer base, and you have to know where to find them.
Yeah. I totally agree. So you mentioned something a moment ago too about not being on every platform. So like one of the newest ones out there is TikTok at the time of this recording. So a lot of people are saying, well, what do I need to be on TikTok? And my answer to that is, at the very least, you need to know what it is. But if you're struggling to have a presence on your existing social media channels right now, don't just jump on to TikTok just because it's brand new and it's shiny and so on. You don't want to take that approach. It's a totally new animal on its own for a social media platform with a very unique content style to attract people. So it lends itself to a lot more creative content, a lot more, in a sense, maybe some comedy to it, or some intrigue, some interest. It's the polar opposite of like the conventional webinar. It's probably the best way. That's the visual that comes to mind for me. So if you are looking at something like TikTok, or you're looking to advance even your Instagram audience, now after making those evaluations, is like, what do we need to do? What is our content going to look like? Are people going to like it? So don't go, don't skip through those essentials of sitting down, writing out your content, and learn from others in order to give your audience the very best so that they can get to know your company, and use social media to build trust in your brand, build trust in your employees and in your products. That's All of those things are really, really super, super duper important. Yeah. What else we got, sis? What else is, when you think of that topic of social media and using these platforms, any other questions that you think people have on their mind when it comes to that topic?
I think we've pretty much touched on the basics of it. I liked what you said. There's two words that came back, and I want to emphasize it again: trust and quality.
Yeah.
If you're not planning your content with those things in mind, bringing true quality content and building trust, it's not going to go anywhere. Because here's a big, your big social media tip of the day. If your customers are not sharing your content, liking your content, commenting on your content, it's not going to go anywhere. So if you're just rehashing old stuff, you might as well not waste your time.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And we'll get into another episode talking about algorithms because it's its own subject, but I will add that because it's important to the topic. You're at the mercy of algorithms. And so as I heard from a fellow marketer, Mike Whaling from 30 Lines, this was a year or so ago. He said this and shared on LinkedIn. You could not do, if you have a Facebook page, you could stop doing anything on it today based on what you have been doing and never see a change in your business. So you have to really understand what the social media tools are there for. Are they there to create leads? Are they there to create awareness of your brand? Are they there to create a connection with your community? Is it there to really just expand your reach? All important questions as to why you're using the tool, and be able to have some solid deliverables, some goals that you need to look towards in order to measure and see how well your campaigns are going. So that's a real brief overview of really social media. Does your business need it? Yes, absolutely. But you have to have some good best practices, and we'll talk about those that are on a future episode for sure. So yeah, great commentary again, sis. Any closing thoughts?
Nope, just looking forward to, as we kind of drill down on this a little bit more. I think it's really important for businesses out there to really understand what they're getting into and have those best practices in place for a better success. And I'm just happy that we're going to be here to help them through that process.
Absolutely. Process. Remember, process. That's how you say it in Canadian. Process.
As soon as I said it, I was waiting for it.
Yes, that is how Canadians say process. So yeah, very good. Yeah, lots more to talk about. But thank you for your insights, your comments, your stats. Great show. So thank you again, everyone, for being here for episode number 4. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that notify button. Give us a thumbs up. Complimentary education. And we look forward to seeing you on our next show. Take care, everyone.